What's up, fight fans? Greg Rowe, Rowe Show Boxing. Wanted to take a little bit of time to kind of let the Crawford versus Spence hype, kind of play out, dissipate, whatever it is you want to say, before I kind of gave my thoughts on the fight and the aftermath. I know a lot of people were shocked by what happened. I really wasn't. If you look at my Twitter feed, if you look at my breakdown on the channel of the fight, I said that Crawford was going to beat the shit out of him, that it wasn't going to be close, and that he would dominate him. I said there was a possibility of a knockout. I said I didn't know because, typically when you don't see a guy knocked out, it's kind of hard to say, well, yeah, this guy could knock that guy out, right? So I hadn't seen it done. Hadn't really seen Spence in a lot of trouble or hurt. So, it's kind of hard to say, yeah, so-and-so would knock, him out. So the fight went, how I thought it was going to go. I had Crawford as the winner 5 years ago. As I stated, I was even more confident of that during fight week. You could just tell in Crawford's demeanor, the way he was looking, the attitude he had, that he was on a mission. Like, this was his moment. He wasn't gonna play around, and he didn't. He looked like the bigger man. He was the stronger man. He boxed Spence's ass off. He counter-punched him. He hurt him. He dropped him. He beat the dog shit out of him and eventually stopped him. So we all saw the fight, so we don't need to get into any more of the specifics of that fight. But it was a great performance. Some of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about was just the aftermath of kind of what people were saying, how people are looking at Terrence Crawford, and kind of where they're going with, him as a fighter, where, they think he's going to go next, how they think he would match up with so-and-so throughout the history of boxing. And I kind of wanted to get into some of the issues that I have with some of the things I'm seeing, some of the things I'm hearing. I'm seeing, and this isn't just from, clueless boxing fans on social media, because there are a lot of clueless boxing fans on social media. That's why I stopped talking to people in boxing groups. That's why I don't really get into discussions as much in or on Twitter with people as I used to. That's why I'm very selective about the people I'll have discussions with, because if you're not saying anything that has any relevance or piques my interest or lets me know that you actually know what you're watching or talking about, I'm not gonna waste my time with you. So the things that I'm seeing and hearing these are things from boxing people. These are publications, these are websites, these are writers, these are, experts, these are, educated fight fans, other fighters, trainers, promoters, things like that. Things I've seen this last week are, things like Crawford is the best fighter since Sugar Ray Leonard. As things stand right now, I have a huge problem with that statement. Crawford is 40-0, but it's not like he has 12 or 15 Spences on his resume. He doesn't. He has one Spence on his resume. Has he beaten some good fighters? Has he beaten some quality opponents? Absolutely. But to act like his resume, or accomplishments match that of like Roy Jones or Chavez or, Hearns or Hagler or Mayweather or Pacquiao or De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins, James Toney, fighters like that, that's really hard for me to, say. I mean, he doesn't have a Marquez or a Morales or a Barrera, type resume at this point. So it's really hard for me to understand why people would say something to me that, quite honestly is ignorant. He has to do a lot more, and he has to do it, against a lot better opposition moving forward for me to to even consider that in the realm of possibilities. You know, I'm seeing things like he would beat Floyd Mayweather in Floyd Mayweather's prime. Like, stop it. Stop it. Floyd Mayweather is who he is, and I think a lot of people have forgotten who that dude is. That dude is that guy. It doesn't matter to me if it's at 35, 40, or 47. I wouldn't pick Terence Crawford to beat Floyd Mayweather. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. Great fighter, very skilled. Fighting Floyd Mayweather is a different animal, right? It's a different animal. Floyd Mayweather is the type of guy who's always calm, always composed, always 3 or 4 steps ahead. He lures you into traps. He lulls you to sleep. He takes what it is that you do well and uses it against you while punishing you for your weaknesses and your deficiencies. He negates and has, you know, dominated the greatest power punchers of his era. He's beaten slick boxers. He's beaten southpaws. He's beaten guys who can box and punch. He's beaten guys who were a lot taller than him and had, you know, a longer reach and were a lot more rangy than he was. He's beaten guys with hand speed. He's beaten maulers. To me, that's just, it blows my mind when I see people say stuff like that. Like, Terence Crawford beats one guy who was flat-footed, stood right in front of him, and stayed mid-range, and all of a sudden, he's a top 5 fighter all-time, pound for pound. I've also seen that. He's the greatest fighter since Sugar Ray Leonard, and he would beat Floyd Mayweather in his prime. Like, stop. We need to pump the fucking brakes. You know, it's okay that Terence Crawford is the best fighter pound for pound in the world right now. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no knock on that. That's okay. We don't have to start going to Never Never Land and La La Land and starting to say and conjure up these things that are just quite honestly ignorant and make absolutely no sense. Like, think about, do I think Terence Crawford could compete in any era? Do I think he, you know, 35 to 47, do I think he could hang out in the, you know, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? Sure, I do. I think he could hang out in those eras. Prime for prime, would I pick him to beat guys like Henry Armstrong or, you know, Ray Leonard or Ray Robinson or Roberto Duran or, you know, Wilfredo Benitez or, you know, Alexis Arguello, Aaron Pryor, you know, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, you know, Tommy Hearns, you know, all these, Shane Mosley's, you know, all these type of guys. Would I pick him to beat those guys in their primes? A lot of the names, no, I wouldn't. And that's no knock on Terence Crawford. But I think people are overhyping this win and really like searching for that next guy that they've been searching for since Floyd Mayweather retired to kind of take that throne over. And now they're starting to go a little bit overboard with some of their you know, analyzations and their thoughts and their, you know, they're conjuring up these things that aren't reality. And I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit. That's one win against one guy who is considered the best opponent of his career. Okay, he hadn't been beating guys like Spence before. And no, you know what, and Top Rank wasn't giving him the opportunity to do that. Yes, I know that. But you can't sit there and make statements like, he's the best fighter I've seen since Ray Leonard retired. Or, you know, he's a top 5 fighter pound for pound all time. Or, you know, he would beat Floyd Mayweather in his prime. Like, you know what, I was born in the early 80s, and I started watching boxing in the mid 80s. So, you know what, I wasn't alive during the times of, you know, of Ali and Ray Robinson and all these type of guys. I've since gone back and watched the fight footage and studied them and all that kind of thing. So I have a very good understanding of who those guys were, what their skill sets were, what kind of fighters they were, you know, what kind of competition they fought, what the era, you know, they fought in was like. And I'm sorry, but Terrence Crawford's a great fighter, but did y'all motherfuckers forget who Roy Jones was when Roy Jones was Roy Jones? Did you guys forget who Pernell Whitaker was when he was who he was? Or who, Julio Cesar Chavez was when he was who he was? Or who Floyd Mayweather was when he was doing what he was doing? Or Manny Pacquiao when he was, moving up all these weight classes, just whacking out bigger guys. Do you forget who, Eric Morales and Juan Manuel Marquez and Marco Antonio Barrera and Aaron Pryor, and Tommy Hearns and all these guys were? You guys forget who these guys were and what kind of fighters they were, and what their skill sets were? It's just, it's really hard for me to take these people serious. Like I said, the craziest part about this is these are like, semi-respected or established, legitimate, publications, magazines, sites, writers, trainers, experts that are saying these types of things. And it's just, to me, it's absolutely bonkers. I feel like I'm living in the fucking Twilight Zone right now. I'm a huge Terrence Crawford guy. I met him. He's an extremely nice guy, very accommodating. And so I'm a huge fan of his. I've been a huge fan of his for a long time, long before there was any talks of him, possibly being the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. But I can't go there where some of these people are going, because it just doesn't make sense. I can't trick my mind or make something up in my mind or make myself believe something that I deep down don't feel is the truth. And I can't do that. I've never been one to do that. So I'm not willing to go there. And I have a problem right now with people who are. We need to pump the brakes on Terrence Crawford, top 5 all time, would whack out Floyd Mayweather in Floyd Mayweather's prime, that he's the greatest fighter since Ray Leonard. We have to pump the brakes on this stuff, because it's really not a good look when we have legitimate people, legitimate publications saying these types of just off-the-wall, ridiculous things. Best fighter in the world, pound for pound right now. Clearly the best fighter in the world, yes. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to rush and make him something that he's not, or take him to some place that he hasn't, earned a spot at, or a table that he hasn't earned a seat at yet. We don't need to do that. As fans, as media, as, experts, as part of the boxing community, boxing culture, we don't need to go there yet. Okay, if Terrence Crawford goes on another 4 or 5 year unbeaten streak and he's 48-0, 50-0, and he's undisputed in 3 different weight classes, and he's whacking out the Charlos, and he's beating the Boots, and he's beating all these other guys, maybe one day a fight with Tank, something like that, down the road. If he's doing all those kinds of things, then we can maybe start to have the discussions. But guys, we got to stop with this. This is insanity. How far overboard people are going right now with the love affair of Terrence Crawford and what he did this past Saturday. Yes, it was a spectacular performance. He was clearly the better fighter. I always knew he was, and he beat the dog shit out of Spence, and he made him look amateurish and terrible. And all of these things, yes, great big fight performance on a big stage in arguably the biggest fight of the year. Yes. That does not make him a top 5 all-time pound-for-pound fighter. That does not make him the greatest fighter since Sugar Ray Leonard. And that surely does not say to me that I would pick him to beat Floyd Mayweather at 135, 140, or 147, because I wouldn't. Okay, I'm Floyd Mayweather and who he was and what he did, and the fighter he was, and the skill set he had, and the boxing IQ and abilities that he had are still fresh in my brain. I haven't forgotten all of that all of a sudden, and think that what I have seen out of Terrence Crawford in one fight it is enough to make me think all those things to be true. So You know, that's my take on that. I don't care if you agree with me or not. You may not. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm willing to chop it up with anybody, but you got to bring it. It can't be, you know, just some stupid, ignorant stuff that doesn't make any sense, because I just don't roll that way. So that's it for me in this video. That's my thoughts on the fight. That's my thought on all this wacky nonsense that's happened since the fight happened. What do I think Crawford does next? Hopefully, you know, Charlo can get by Plant, and maybe we can see, you know, Crawford versus Charlo. I think that's a very entertaining fight. I think it's a fight that people really want to see. There's a lot of intrigue that will be there. And it'll be another big fight for him. And if he wins that, you know, who knows? Undisputed at 154 in 3 different weight classes. Really never been done before. So, you know, it would be something spectacular. But, you know, until that happens, we need to pump our brakes. So that's it for me. I hope you liked the video. If you did, thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want. Share the video. Let me know what you think about the fight down below. Let me know what you think about all this nonsense that's come after the fight about Crawford and his status and who he would beat and who he's better than. That, you know, all these, you know, bozos wanna throw out. So be on the lookout for you know, the next video. I'm gonna be, you know, breaking down what I think and how I see the fight between Canelo and Charlo going. We're a little less than a month away, so I'll give you my breakdown and thoughts on that. So yeah, that's it for me.